Welcome to Economics Happy Hour. My name's Matt.
My name is Jadrian.
It is mid-June. This isn't maybe quite a record, but it's probably close to a record where we are recording it almost 24 hours from when I think we will release this. So it's the Wednesday, the 17th, and this should drop, assuming we can get our acts together. And I think I'll be able to get my end done on Thursday, the 18th. But what's new in your world?
Summer stuff, working on Jet Set. I've spent the past few days tinkering with, as you can tell by the emails you probably got this morning.
Yes,
So you're welcome. Putting
thank
together
you.
I take on the task for the Journal of Economics Teaching of putting together the program. I love it. There's something weird about it, and I think the other directors are very happy to let me do it. But there's something really fun about getting all the presentations that come in, trying to bundle them to have a common theme, and then spreading them out across multiple days and blocks. And like, it's just a very fun puzzle
Hey,
for me
that's
to play
awesome.
with. And so I think, yeah, as you saw this morning,
Yeah,
I don't know, you don't have to tell people what you're. I mean, I guess actually the sessions are available online,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's
I'm
not
happy
really a
to.
surprise. The session that you're presenting in at Jet Set, does it make sense? Did I do a good job? Praise, Matt. I need your praise that
No, of course. I
the
mean,
session
yeah,
looked good.
yeah. I mean, I'm on pop culture and economics is what the title is, which yeah, that's pretty relevant. And the other presentations looked awesome, even if I have no idea, which is not atypical before I see it of what Wayne's is. Wayne, the Wayne is a little bit more on the cutting edge of stuff sometimes of than I know. So that'll be cool. And I'm presenting a paper that with Brian on command economies, the that's pop
Mhm.
culture that specifically could be used to teach about command economies, as we thought there was a lack there. So that yeah, it was awesome and excited. The other thing I actually do appreciate is you sending out the invite for the editors thing because
Mhm.
that wasn't in the past. So that was a change this year, and I honestly didn't know, and I think I had booked a flight that was missing that without really realizing I was supposed to show up to this thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Brian probably would have done it. He's done it every year without the other editors, so I don't think
Yeah, oh, he
he
would
cares
have.
too much. No, so yeah, I've been doing the program, and so the real fun is just putting the sessions together, seeing who's in there. I know so many of you, like I know your personalities well enough that like I mean I can kind of internally look at two presentations and go,
Yeah,
no, these two people would not do well in the same room together. They need to be in separate rooms. Or it's even things like mentally I know I'm gonna say I know. I think you and I probably go to enough of these sorts of conferences that you can kind of tell, oh, that's going to be a really popular one. That one's not going to be as
sure, sure,
popular.
sure.
So making sure that the popular ones are spread out. Just
Yeah,
it's
that
interesting
makes
things I never thought about before I started putting together conferences of who's going to be in that last slot before people
yeah.
leave and go home. If you know that there are not great presenters, maybe put those on the first day.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Oh,
very
sorry. Actually, I
fair.
should probably say if you're on the first day, that doesn't mean I think you're a bad presenter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We have great presenters this year. Biggest jet set we've ever had. We have, I don't, off the top of my head now, I don't remember the number. 24 presentation slots,
Okay.
which is approximately equal to about 75 presentations. So usually there's three presentations in each slot. So this is
Okay.
the biggest
Yeah,
one we've
yeah.
done. So I think Omaha a couple years ago we had half as many. So
Fantastic.
it's exciting.
Yeah,
You and I
that's
will
very
have
good.
lot now that the program's ready. We can find our guests for Jet Set.
Yes. Yes. Well, that will be good. That will be good. What it is 8:45 in the morning as we're recording this. So what are you
Well,
drinking this morning?
8:45 for Matt because he's in Minnesota.
Nine, you're right, 9:45
I'm
for
at
me.
9:45. Matt, breakfast drinks, right? So I
Yeah.
will I will admit it is a work day. So I am having a non-alcoholic mimosa is what I've
Okay.
decided to go with. Or for
I'm
our
going.
non-drinking listeners, I'm having a glass of orange juice.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, non-alcoholic mimosa. I like it. I am having Diet Mountain Dew, or actually Diet American Dew for
oh
the
no.
250th, as their branding is today. So that's we are in caffeine mode for a while still, but which is pretty much continues throughout the morning. So all that's all good. That's all good. So things are good, and I do have a stat you mentioned before. You weren't as
Mhm.
certain about a statistic, so I could give you. the stats.
no, I found it.
Oh, right. Okay.
I do have my stat. I will say it's gonna be hard for me to describe my stat. So if you want to do yours first,
Sure.
I could try to awkwardly come up with my stat for you.
Uh, 509.
509. 509. That is, huh. 509. Let's go with 509. Actually, I'm gonna do a little quick math real quick. 509
Yeah,
divided.
yeah, yeah.
I feel like this is minutes. That's 8 hours. 509 is that, or 500? Yeah, 509 is that the number of minutes of extra time that has been played in the World Cup so far? Okay.
Ah, but
Doesn't feel that's not right. That's not right.
that's
That's too many
probably
minutes. That's
probably too many. That's definitely not. Then that's not it. But let me. It is a price. I'll say it's a
oh,
price.
price. Ooh, but you didn't say it's a dollar. You said it's a price.
I'll say it's dollars. I'll give you
Okay, okay,
dollars.
$509.
Yeah.
What costs $509? Um, $500. I will say, so obviously I'm picking World Cup related things. I don't know if you're sticking with the theme, so maybe I probably should have asked for clarification on my second clue. This could be real bad if this is not World Cup themed. Let's go $509. Yeah, let me pivot away from it. Let me not do World Cup. $509. The average price of $509 is how much more people are paying for gasoline because of the Iran war.
I'm guessing that's probably a little bit too high of an estimate, and that's not it. I
Okay.
will say it's a price, it's World Cup related, and it's related to today.
Oh. Is that the price to get into one of the matches today? Is the
Cheapest
average price?
price,
Cheapest price.
cheapest price to get in today through StubHub. And actually, that was 10 minutes ago.
Hmm.
I just looked it up now, and I will send you the screenshot. It dropped to 504. If you wanted to go to
Okay.
Ghana versus Panama today,
Where?
in BMO Field,
Oh,
which is
Toronto.
Toronto.
So
Um,
those are those American dollars or Canadian dollars?
I believe it's American
Yeah,
dollars.
because
I
you'd be
think
searching.
StubHub
Yeah,
charges based on
your location. It pulls your
US.
IP
Yeah.
address.
Yeah, so 504. No, that is for one single alone ticket.
Hmm.
Um, Probably in a pretty rough spot. But if you're planning to go to a whole lot of games, that's a lot. I mean, it's still a lot of money, but if you're looking at a kind of this is an experience I may never have again,
Yeah.
$500. That's if you look at it that way, that seems like a not the worst price. The other games, it is interesting how different the prices are on the other games today. Just I always look at the get in the door price, but England also plays today, and I will pull this up to England versus Croatia. The cheapest price to get in, let's see here, sort by price. Cheapest price to get in for two tickets is 12.44. For one ticket, 13.23.
I wonder how much
So
my tickets are going for next week. Let me. Should I be selling? Should I be looking to sell my tickets?
So you got it through like the lottery system, right? You
Yeah,
said
I'm
like
not allowed.
some
I think I'm not allowed to sell it for more than. I don't know how that works.
I got we didn't end up having to pay more than the token price, and I say we as if I did the work. Amanda is a saint for doing all the work. So it was no more. She had to buy the right to buy token and then a right to ticket token, which did cost $600, which
Yeah.
is more than I've ever spent for any ticket. Probably by double, actually,
Hmm.
in my life. I've never spent, I think I've hit 300 on one Broadway show and I hit 300 on the playoff baseball game in my
Okay.
life. And other than that, it's pretty rare. I don't know that I've ever been above, I think I've hit 200 once in my life before that.
Sure.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Was the Broadway show Hamilton?
The Broadway show is not Hamilton. We got to see the original cast of Hamilton for $89 a ticket because we bought
Nice.
them well enough in advance. It was for Just in Time with Jonathan Groff, which
Okay.
was out of this world good. I don't know if it's as good without him, but the and I got the seats and it was the upper level, but it's if you're using football speak, it's on about the 25 to 30 yard line. And
Okay.
it's not all the way back. It's like in the middle. So it's like, it's not a premium seat, but that's not a bad seat. It's gonna have a great side view. So I
Yeah.
was pretty happy. And I was really happy we didn't have to spend an extra $500 to get the seat on top of that. But
Was gonna say I don't actually know where my seats are. That's a good. I probably should have prepared for this. I have seats. I got them in a lottery, right? So I don't really. Oh, actually, I don't know what my seats are. I think if I remember correctly, I won't get my tickets issued until
do you
I'm
have
there.
you downloaded the FIFA app and
Yeah, I've done all that.
I
Does it
did
tell you
that
where
and I
the?
signed in and they just assigned the seats to us. So they say the ticket is not ready yet, but I know exactly where I'm sitting, I guess.
I've downloaded both FIFA apps. I don't want either one of them. Just send me a printed ticket. I'm getting old.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to do that for us.
Which is,
So,
that was actually kind of one of the sad parts is that would be a really cool thing to have like a printed version of like to say like I went to a World Cup game
yeah,
rather
I
than what we have now.
I bet you could have AI create one for you and just print it out and it'll look pretty and throw it in a
Yeah.
scrapbook. But okay, so did you figure out your stat?
Yes, I have a number for you, Matt.
Okay.
That number is 287.
Okay. Yours is just as complicated as mine. And uh I mean, I am assuming it's World Cup related.
It is. I will help. It is World Cup related.
I think that's too many to think number of games because they might have three or four per day. 287 is, gosh, what in the world would be 287? Average hotel price.
It is not hotel prices. I will tell you that it is 287 players at the World Cup.
287 players in
So
the
there
at
is
the World
something
Cup
special about these players at the World Cup.
have could have played for the US but are playing for a different team.
You are so close. I almost want to. I feel like I should actually give it to you. Um, I actually, you know what, Matt? I'm going to give you credit for this because you are
Okay.
so close
Okay.
that it's
I
worth
will
it's
take
worth giving
credit.
it to you.
I will take credit.
287 players could have played for a different country. So
Okay.
it's 287 players at the tournament were born outside of the country that they represent.
Yeah.
So it's not just the United States; it's any country whatsoever. So
I
that's
had yeah.
yeah, you were so close that like I
Yeah,
wouldn't know
that's
how to change my hint to like
on that one. No, that's I don't think I've ever gotten it that close in two
that
before,
was
so I'm
really
just
good.
excited. The I've seen enough commentary. I've
Yeah.
watched a fair amount of the games here and there, half the game at a time, or had it on in the background, and you hear of players. I heard of one player who had the option between three different countries
Yeah.
on one of the broadcasts. So.
Well, so I can ask you then as a trivia follow up. I'll ask you both sides of it. There's this really cool Sankey diagram that I had found
Okay.
that show you like they were born here, they're playing here, so it shows you the movements of players.
Yeah.
Do you know the country? So we'll do both sides. The country that has the most number of players born in that country but playing elsewhere. So they're exporting players out of their
Yeah.
country. Versus, do you know the country where they have imported the most players? They're foreign born and they're playing somewhere else. Yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
phrase it as exports and imports. I think that will
yeah,
actually
yeah.
make
I
the most
would
sense.
guess that the exporting country might be the U.S. It's a bit, well, no, the U.S. just isn't good enough in soccer. And the very top athletes are more likely to go for basketball or football or hockey or baseball or
We
pretty
have
much.
exported 9 players. So these are only World
Okay.
Cup, right? The teams at the World Cup. So we've exported 9.
So I would guess it's a big European country. That would be the guess. I mean, so do we say it's Germany?
Germany's number 3.
Okay. I mean, the other two big, what, France and England are pretty big.
France is number 1. So
Okay.
yeah, the colonial. So colonialism will help you
Yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
that makes sense. Yep, yep.
It's the colonial part. So they're sending players to Haiti and Algeria and Tunisia.
I just can't fathom I'm going to get the other one because it's probably a bit of a smaller country
It
that's
is.
getting the imports from a France or a England or
And
a Germany.
it's a colonial thing. That's
Ivory Coast.
Curacao.
Okay. Hmm.
Uh 25 players. Um Almost all of them are coming from the Netherlands.
Wow.
So I mean
I
it's the I
yeah.
think it's part of that, right? It's
Yep.
the
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
imports
That's a
exports. So
fascinating statistic and
thank you.
information. So,
Well, I
so
figured since we're talking World Cup, this is a great opportunity to talk about. I don't know where you want to go in this World Cup episode.
well,
So our
I would
episode.
love to start because you had and we were I was at the teacher training yesterday
Okay.
for high school teachers. It was awesome. It was in Minnesota. Best Prep, but they partner with FEE, Foundation for Economic Education, and they were nice enough to bring me out. And for me, it's awesome to double up to visit family at the same time. But we talked about your article a bit yesterday, and
Oh,
like it just came up, and somebody had mentioned that who we like your stuff, but I think we both agreed it might have been one of your best Monday economists. It was just fascinating.
wait, the one from like a couple days ago,
Yeah, on the
or the
World
one?
Cup.
No, I had two World Cup ones. Which one? The one about the
Uh,
fans?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's I figured that would. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay.
Yeah, just it was just interesting and how you tied their reactions in. And I'd seen some of the reactions before, but into the way they, how they other countries can't have a Bucky's. Right? Like and it was just that was it was an awesome read. I'm sure most of the people listening probably read
Thank
your
you.
Monday Economist anyway, but it came up. So but I'd love to start there and kind of
Okay.
get your thoughts and maybe you summarize a little bit about what you found or what prompted you to think I need to write about this for the Monday
I
Economist.
feel like I'm being interviewed for our own podcast. This is fun. I know how our guests feel. Um, yeah. So, like, I mean, when it comes to writing it, right, it's always just figuring out like what is going on at the same time. And I sometimes I know well in advance of something coming up that I can write about, and then other times I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. And I just the day that I was sitting down this past weekend, I was doing a lot of housework around the house, and so I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. I was watching. I was pausing to watch the World Cup, and so there were all these stories about the fans who were just coming to America and experiencing
Yeah,
all this fun and like getting to see stuff. And like, so to be fair, Freddie is probably the one that's most famous, he's like traveling along and like going to a Waffle House and stopping at a Taco Bell. And then my feed, because I was seeing so many of them, my algorithm was feeding me more of these.
sure, sure.
And so I was getting these videos of people going like, look at all these things that they have in America. You could pick from 100 different sodas in a single
Yes,
machine. And so as I was sitting there, I was going, I do not remember what connected it back to the Yeltsin story, which you and I have talked about
yes, yep,
before on this episode or on our podcast. And I was like, this is essentially the same thing. They're just shocked by variety. And so it was a really cool chance just to sit and think about like they both have the same reaction. Look at all the stuff that America has, but the reason for that shock is very different. And so just I always like this sort of like what are they experiencing? I love any article that connects to history. I think if you go back and
yeah,
look at any of my old posts, if there's a historical element to it, I get really nerdy because I love the history part. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, so if it's not a difference in command economies versus market
yeah,
economies, what's so different about the American market economy?
yeah.
To be fair, I can't explain ranch, but I can explain all the varieties of ranch,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, there's just some of probably historical preferences and how
Yeah.
that came up with, right? Just in different countries. So some of that is
So some of
there.
that's there, but they're not gonna. So they'll sell ranch maybe at the American section of the grocery store, but they're not gonna have space for avocado ranch, fat-free
Sure, sure.
avocado ranch
Yeah, yeah.
uh, instead.
But and then you were talking through like, the Bucky's. The US has 330 million consumers, and I still haven't been to a Bucky's. I haven't
Really?
yeah, it's just my trips haven't taken me past one since at least since I've known, oh, I gotta stop here because it's a thing. But mentioning how like some of these some of the European countries where folks are coming from are so small that there's no economies of scale. Bucky's can't think, okay, we're going to create this and then we'll kind of model it and create several because they could maybe do one and then it's over. So they can't have,
Yeah.
there's a little bit on the economies of scale there. And that's actually the part that I thought was part of it. We talked about the Yeltsin stuff, and I thought it
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
cool way to tie it through. But
yeah.
I was like, that makes total sense. It's interesting. So I loved that part of it.
I think about this all the time from maybe this was just because I was a business major. I think about how sort of just chains operate is that you almost never see a single chain absent of everybody else.
Sure, sure.
I'll give you a really good example that I still don't fully understand why this is happening. And to me, I think it's just part of some sort of broader expansion stuff. So Roanoke is getting a Publix. They're in the process of building it.
Okay.
But there's no other Publix for several miles, like hundreds of miles away. Like there's not a second Publix in the area.
Um,
And so in my mind, I'm sitting there going, why are you sending a single delivery truck? Like you should be del most franchise models work by you drop off stuff at one store and then that truck takes another stuff to another store and that you're dropping
yeah.
off these other pieces. It's weird to me that there's just a single Publix. But in the back of my
Yeah.
mind, I'm going, you're going to build more Publix in this area. Like
Yeah.
this is the first Publix, but there's no way you have an isolated single store of a chain
On for more.
for by itself. But this sort of economies of scale idea that the ability to not ship out stuff to just one location, you're going to ship out stuff and drop it off at five places instead of sending five separate shipments. Those sorts of things really fascinate me about like any of the sort of marketing stuff, franchises that you're sharing in
Yeah. Yeah.
advertising, and you don't have to pay a massive advertising budget.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And that'll be fun to watch over the next year is another Publix coming. And Bucky's, they're so huge. They are spread out a bit, but I'm guessing they can team up with other
Well,
shipping and
and so there's pieces to it, right? So Bucky's is a fascinating story. But Bucky's, I'm trying to think. I mean, I feel like culturally, I'm going to say most of our listeners know what a Bucky's is, even if they've never been to it. Maybe our West Coast listeners, definitely I think even our foreign listeners might have heard of a Bucky's. So just for some context, we're talking massive gas station, convenience store at a level that like whatever you think is a big gas station, it's bigger. It is
yeah.
hundreds of pumps sometimes. There might be 200 pumps at a place. But I mean, the way that they make a ton of money is they are not located in cities. They're located outside of cities where land is fairly cheap. And so they're able to buy lots of big land. But these places are just massive along interstates so that people are stopping.
Yeah.
So I find them fascinating, mostly because I grew up in Texas and this is a Texas product. The first Bucky's looks like a regular 7-Eleven. Like it's small and it has like six
That's
pumps.
funny.
It's a local
Yeah.
gas station.
Sure.
And so sometimes like I'll drive and I'll forget that I'm in the part where the originals were. And I'll be like, oh, there's a Bucky's. And I'm like driving through a downtown and I go, where's this Bucky's? This isn't like I'm not near the interstate.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm like, it clicks in my head and I go, oh no, this is a small Bucky's. This
Yeah.
is not the Bucky's I want.
You wanted the bigger
I want the
Bucky's.
big
So,
Bucky's. Give me the big one.
so I mean, in terms of like economics of the World Cup, I think the highlights of what people have seen, it's
Yeah.
not necessarily the World Cup having an impact, but it's showing foreign visitors. It's driving a little bit about what they're seeing that's unique about the US, I
Yeah,
think.
and when we talk about economic impact studies, but this is also a good chance to sort of backpedal because we're highlighting all these people who are spending money, coming and spending time, and people are going to
Yep.
go, "That's economic impact." And to be fair, those are the sort of things we expect is that somebody who's coming for 3 weeks and is spending money
Yep.
regularly. Yes, that's not what most fans are doing. There's a handful of these fans. There's
So,
thousands of fans who might be doing this for a week, but out of hundreds of millions of people who live in the U.S., drop in the bucket. But one of the things I think that actually could be really interesting about this from an economic impact study, and this might be my one chance to say this has the potential for economic impact,
yeah.
is that I think it does actually paint the United States as a tourist friendly location. And I think over the past decade, we have maybe not had the perception that it is a good place to come visit. And I think
Sure.
these sort of stories, I think, are telling people like, hey, look, there are cool things to do here. It's an experience, and you get to go to these
Yep.
sorts of things. And
Actually, I literally had that written down in the notes to talk about. So that's
so I think there's this sort of future impact that is coming. It's still going to be really small, and I don't think the U.S. should be dumping a ton of money into it.
well,
Um, but
It's fascinating though. The PR from this has been enormously positive.
positive. Yes.
And I've been thinking through this, what is the impact? There's an impact. People are coming in and spending money, and
Mhm.
plenty of foreign visitors are coming in, and so there's an impact. How big is it? We would argue it's always going to be much smaller immediately, but the positive value showing this, that's a good thing. And the more I've been thinking, the more also just in general, if you're a country like the US, you have to do these things. Like if you don't start to do some World Cups or whatever the other events are, what are the other national
Well,
Olympic
the
hosting the
Olympics.
Olympics, right? Those might be the two. Um, People will start to question, are you really that strong of a country? I mean, I don't know that that's the case,
Mhm.
but then you throw in, I had thought of that before seeing some of these great PR videos, but there's the amount of the positive PR from these has been absolutely enormous. Of
Yeah, I mean,
people
yeah.
around the world and people in the US actually seeing this and saying, oh, that's pretty cool. They're pointing out some of the things that are actually awesome about our country. And
That's
um,
why I said I think this is a good reminder that like this is a tourist destination for a lot of people. And if there are people who haven't been in a while, I think they're getting to see part of it that they hadn't seen before. And that is one of the benefits that people do when researchers talk about the benefits of hosting these events. That is one of those things. Sort of the to pick on that as an item. I think when the Olympics were hosted in France, and mostly in Paris, that people are like,
yep, yep.
okay, people know what Paris is. Like you don't need the marketing side of like come to Paris. Like the people know. But I think especially the stories that I this is where you go back to the stories that I think are much more beneficial. There's this. Have you seen the story of the Algerian team in Kansas?
I don't know
So
that I've seen that now.
it's like so heartwarming. It's so. I'll tell the story for people who have not heard it, but Matt, I think you'll find it just so endearing.
Huh?
Uh, all of the teams have base camps in Canada, the United States, and Mexico, where they are basically that's where they're practicing, staying in the hotel, and it's not in the city because they're bouncing around so much.
Sure, sure, sure.
So I think our closest team to me, I think I have one in Greensboro, North Carolina, is
Okay.
I think the Norwegian team is staying there. So a lot of them are staying at college campuses because they have
Yeah,
dorms and there's hotels that are going unused. They have soccer fields.
sure.
The Algerian team is staying in Lawrence, Kansas, home of the
Okay.
University of Kansas, and the I think the University of Kansas band learned the Algerian national anthem, and they
Yeah,
like played it for them as they're like arriving in town and stuff. And so like the
that's
town is it's a small college town,
yeah.
and so they're like taking care of this Algerian team, and there's all these like really great like heartwarming stories of like the people who live there have like bought Algerian jerseys and like
That's very
they've become
cool.
like their hometown team.
Yeah. Oh, that's that. Yeah, that is very cool. That is very cool.
Yeah.
So the when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, we talked about, talk a little bit about the economics, some of the things that have happened, maybe some things that have surprised us. I think the
Mhm.
positive social media PR
Yeah.
has been a pleasant surprise. Anything else that has surprised you that you want to note on thing?
On the economics side, I mean, let me say on the soccer side of things, these games have been good.
Oh, they've been incredible.
Like I've watched I've not watched all of them, mostly just in the sense that like even on a weekend I have stuff to do. I can't watch games at 11, 3, 6, and 9. Like I would love to spend the entire day on the couch watching games, but like I do have other
Yeah,
things I
yeah.
need to do. But the actual quality of the games have been shockingly good across the way. So I guess that's not really, I'll say that's not economics related. I think there was these stories of that FIFA messed up the pricing and that there was all these unsold tickets and stuff like that. But the games look really full. Like
Yeah.
on the, I think people bought tickets and are trying to resell them, and people just aren't buying them, and so they're going. Those
Yeah,
parts look good.
the no, I
Um,
think the in terms of the pricing, right? I mean, I mentioned some of the pricing today, and it's not cheap. However, for anybody who's an NBA fan and looked up the cheapest you could get into Madison Square Garden, you
yeah,
couldn't get in for under $10,000
yeah.
to Madison Square Garden. Now, there's a lot more capacity for the World Cup if you just want to go to any game. But it is the World Cup. So the idea of 500 to $1,000, yeah, it's a lot of money on the resale
Mhm.
market, but it's 10 to 20 times cheaper than what it was to get in to go see to get the worst seat at the Knicks game in New York City. So I don't think the pricing is that outrageous
No.
for the World Cup on the resale market. And so I thought that was, I guess it's a little bit of a surprise relative to what the NBA Finals went for. And the Spurs, it was cheaper to get to a game in San Antonio. So much cheaper that it made more sense for somebody to fly to New York, pay the airline ticket, get a hotel for 2 nights, and spend $2,000 to $3,000 on a ticket. I mean, you could save $5,000 to $10,000 for a comparable seat going to San Antonio. But when the comparison is just right there of playoff sports in the US, tickets seem reasonably priced to me, as expensive as they are.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely have been surprised by the PR side of things. I was not expecting that much of a boost. I am very curious how long that lasts.
Sure.
That right, we're getting this big wave at the beginning, but that's because all 48 teams are still here. When it gets down to the final 16, 8 teams, right? Like when we're getting down to the semifinals, do we still have that bump? Or do you start getting I wonder when fatigue is going to set in. So this is one of the other big changes for this year's World Cup. I mean, I guess there's lots of changes. And maybe I'll ask you this from a money making standpoint or a rules standpoint. So one of the big changes, they expanded the field so that they have more teams are in. So it's 48 teams instead of 36, 32. Oh, now I'm bad. I can't remember the number.
I think it's 48. I think it was 32.
32. Yeah, I was trying to do my math, trying to work up my times two. Um, so there are definitely more teams. I think that's good. I know that there's some people who are like, oh, there's too many teams, there's too many games. So there's like a diminishing returns aspect to it. Like I wonder if you will see the same energy that we would normally see in a smaller field. There's still a
Yeah.
championship, right? But like, will people be tired because now there's extra weeks of games?
I do not think people will be tired
You don't think so?
when the playoff rounds come through. I do. I mean, you follow a whole NFL season for 4 months, or an NBA and NHL season. Shout out to my Carolina Hurricanes, by the way. Lived in Raleigh for a couple of years, had partial season tickets. I have kind of affinity to two teams now, both them and the Penguins, because I go to a bunch of Penguins games. So it's not quite like my only team won, but
But not
like, but you,
not the Wild. No, no home
I
team.
didn't. The Wild weren't in Minnesota when
Oh, so are you a star?
since I have
You could be a
lived here.
Stars fan.
They moved, and when they won it in '99, there were some North Stars still on the team, including Mike
Mhm.
Modano. So I kind of had some affinity, but when the team moves, I'm like, I'm done.
I'm done with you.
The yeah, the but no, I think I would be stunned if that happens. It'll be interesting to see, just because as sports fans, we're used to these super long seasons, and the playoffs are the playoffs, and the most exciting part. But it will be interesting. So far, I agree with you, though. It's been wonderful to have games on all the time, and yeah, I'm not going to catch them all, but
Yeah.
so many options. And England plays today. By the time this drops, that will come out. But I'm going to an England game, so I'll be curious to watch today's and see how that goes.
So here's the other big change that is obviously, I'll definitely say, has an economic impact. Is the world is getting to see what it's like to watch games in 4 quarters instead of two halves. The hydration breaks,
Why don't they just
aka commercial
commercial break?
breaks,
Yeah, why don't
commercial
they just
breaks.
call it commercial break? Yeah.
Let's um, thoughts. What do you think? What impact do you think that this will have on? So I think about it from a product standpoint. They've changed their product to appeal to for money. I mean, that's at the end of the day. That's all it is, right? They've created a break. I don't think they've created a break for Americans who don't understand hockey or soccer. It's an ad break. Do you think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
has will have any impact, or do you think it's the same story as before? People are going to watch the final no matter what, even if there's a break in the middle of the
Well,
half.
the thing that I really do think is going to happen, my thought when you were about to ask that is, do I would I think this is going to ripple through? And 100%. if the Premier League is not doing this within a year or two, I'm going to question their leadership. Not that I want the break in, not that I want the hydration break, but I mean, come on, they played for 22 and a half minutes or whatever, right in the middle of the half. It's not unreasonable on viewers to expect, okay, they're going to throw a commercial break in for 2 minutes. Right now, they don't. So much extra potential money. So I would think they will. I think it's going to ripple through that way. I think this is coming for everywhere.
So I actually did just look this up. Fox will likely make 250 million on hydration break ads during the World Cup, is what's being reported right now,
It's a lot of money. It's a lot
per
of money.
Sports Business Journal. So okay. That's interesting. Do you
Yeah.
think? So I could tie this back to sort of just like rules and systems, like historically within the MLS, because I think it's really interesting. Do you think it's always just going to stay as hydration breaks, or could you imagine a world where it just does turn into four quarters and
Hmm.
they play 2 minutes of extra time in the first quarter instead of two halves?
I could see it. I
Okay,
mean, I don't. I think that will take longer to happen. I would think the purity of the game that won't happen for a while.
sure.
But I fully expect this hydration break. I mean, you have to imagine executives in every single league are seeing this and they're like, this is the future. Well,
Well,
and let's take a flip side here. I can also imagine at the games, so in England, you can't have a beer at your seat.
mhm.
Let's say they made the hydration break 5 minutes long. You are going to have people who go 1 minute before and go grab a beer and drink it and maybe miss 1 or 2 minutes, but it's going to change. I think it would increase concession sales at a lot of stadiums within the UK as well. And
So this is one of the things that I think historically is fun to talk about. So, I think as economists, we don't, I'm gonna say we, like I'm talking for the whole profession here. We don't usually talk about like rules of the game it's like one of those economic factors. Like it's one of those things
yeah,
I think internally we all talk about it like as mechanisms. Like why did we get this outcome? What was the mechanism that got us
yep,
here?
yep, yes,
But it's interesting that like obviously leagues get to pick rules. And so I know this only because I did my dissertation in sports and soccer economics. And so I was really interested in the history of stuff. And so I don't know if you've heard these stories before, so I'm happy to tell you and other people. When MLS started, it came out of the '94 World Cup. One of the conditions of us hosting the World Cup was that we needed to establish a top tier soccer league, which is sort of interesting. Like we were awarded the World Cup without having a domestic league, and they
sure.
had to create a domestic league. And so if you go back and look at some of the early rules of Major League Soccer, absolutely wild. They designed a league for America, basically for Americans. So I think this will be good. So people who don't really like soccer, I think you can appreciate the differences between these. In the rest of the world in the World Cup, the game starts at 0 and counts up to 45, and there may be a couple extra minutes for added time. Well, actually, now there definitely are a couple minutes because of the hydration breaks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
when MLS started, they did not do it that way because that's not how sports in the America are done.
No,
They started at 45 and they counted down,
that's funny.
but they did not have extra time. When it hit 0, they blared a buzzer. That was the end of the game.
No kidding.
They did not have injury time.
I had no idea.
It was 45 down, and then they did 45 down again. So
Okay.
it didn't do 90 down. Americans notoriously hate ties. We don't like ties. Major League Soccer in the beginning did not have ties. They also did not have penalty kicks. So I think it was the first 2 years, they did it hockey style. They did a shootout. They would have a player stand at midfield and dribble
Oh
and
gosh. Oh man, that's funny.
and then shoot and score. So they did a shootout that way.
Okay.
There was a lot of like really goofy rules in
Yeah.
the beginning. Basically, when they created the American League, they said we're going to make it like American sports. We're not going to do it like we're not going to do it like the rest of the world. And then eventually, they're like, we can't do this. Stop doing
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they introduced ties, and then they fixed the clock pretty fast. That I think was one of the first things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's why I said about these times. I'm curious if they realize how much money they're losing by keeping it the way that they're doing it,
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is sort of the test to say, how many people are tuning into these games and like, look, we're not losing viewers with these ads. We could be making more money.
Yeah, and it gives them somewhat permission to do it, right? I mean, if the Premier League just decided to do this 2 years ago and nobody else is doing it, and like, oh, it's a money grab, people will still say it's a money grab. But
It's
it
like,
happened at the World Cup, right? We're gonna adopt what happened at the most prestigious event.
mhm.
Um, yeah, it'll be fun to watch the tracking things, how it all tracks. I do have one other point on the economics that I'd raised before, and but many of our listeners may not have heard, but in a different venue. And I always do think it's fascinating how much less players receive in income, the
Mm,
top players, for
yeah.
playing in the most prestigious event than they receive from their clubs. So France, as we're recording this, France won yesterday, and Mbappe basically makes about, I think, almost $1 million a week,
Yep.
close to that, and gets, I think, maybe 30,000 a game in the
Oh,
World
sorry.
Cup.
He makes $1 million a week more than the lowest paid person on the team. Is
Yeah,
what they.
that's but for the World Cup, basically
Yeah.
makes the same amount as other, right? Like so it's a bit fascinating, and of course, everybody. It's the World Cup. I think it's somewhat expected you would play, but kids grow up, and the dream is to play for a World Cup. And when the supply of people willing to do it, including the top people, is so incredibly high, and your punishment for not doing it would be enormous. I mean, I can't even imagine your advertising punishment if you chose, no, I'm not being paid enough to play that game. But because of that, the World Cup, right? I mean, we're talking about I paid two FIFA $600, our fam,
Mhm.
like for a ticket. The players aren't getting any of this essentially. Like they're getting nothing. Whereas they get a fair amount in their normal league. So I understand it. I still find it pretty fascinating that this phenomenon exists.
You will, I think, appreciate something very similar. I saw this as a snippet of a podcast between it was Tim Howard, Landon Donovan. So those of you who don't know who those are two former U.S. men's national team players,
Yep.
very, very popular. They
Yep.
were interviewing the kicker, I believe, for the Rams. They had their podcast and they were going back and forth of like what a NFL kicker's like weekly routine is to practice. And
Hmm.
the two soccer players are like, we picked the wrong sport. Like
Yeah.
like we kick a ball too. Like, what do you mean? And so I'll see if I can find the video clip to put it in our show notes. But the kicker was like, they were asking like, how often do you like practice kicks during the week? He goes, yeah, like 1 or 2 days. Like I kick maybe 50 times. And they go, wait, hold on, you only kick like 50 field goals a day? And so he was like, yeah, on Monday and Tuesday, those are my rest and recovery days from Sunday. On Wednesday, I'll go out for a couple hours and kick like 50 field goals.
Yeah.
On Thursday, he'll do some kickoffs. On Friday, he'll do legs, and then he rests on Saturday. And these other two players are like, "We picked the wrong sport. You make how much?
So
You make
that's
how much money?"
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
uh,
That's
and I was trying to figure out. I saw it this morning. I couldn't even begin to guess. Like, what do you think Landon Donovan's salary was when he was playing? I'm gonna pull it up. His MLS contract.
I I don't know now. MLS, so top players in the world versus top
Oh,
NFL kickers. The top players in the world are going to make 10x, 10 times what a top NFL kicker would make.
I mean, I can go find his European history. Well, actually, okay, don't count Mbappe, right? Like, let's take an
Well, no,
American. So
yeah. So I mean, if you're talking about, I don't know, it's an interesting one talking NFL kickers versus, but it's a perfectly good living, and if you're good at it, you can be a kicker for 20 years. You
mhm.
can play that, and maybe work-life balance is better. I don't know. The
I think that's what they were going with, right? They're like, I have to run around all the time, and I get traded to different countries that I
yeah,
don't want to be at. And he's just like, I kick some weekends.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
but this actually, I'm going to connect this back to econ in just a second. I think this is really good. So I pulled up Tim Howard, the former goalie, when he was at Everton. He's 34. He was making a yearly salary of $1.8 million.
That's all. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they actually like. I mean, he was a very good American kicker or American player, right? But like,
He
I
was
do
well
actually.
regarded. He was well regarded in England
He
too.
was, yeah, right. So, but part of it is I think the average player is going to make more in Europe than they would in the United States. But I don't think it's going to be like NBA player, like NBA players make the most, I think, on average of just
Yeah,
about any
yeah.
of them. But if you take an NFL kicker, the lowest paid ones are making about 1 million. And then the top paid kickers, I just pulled this up for the Steelers, actually, it looks like, is making
Mhm.
7 million per year. And so they're sort of ranging. Harrison Butker is making 6.4. Nick Folk is making 4.5. Like they're making
Yeah,
several million
yeah, yeah.
versus several million on the other side. But so what they were going back and forth about is that they're like, you don't do anything like during the week. Like you are just you're. What do you mean you're taking 2 days off? Because to be fair, NFL kickers, they're not running. They're not having to practice as much.
No, no.
But what I think is really fascinating, and this is where I'm going to give the NFL kicker a little bit more a little bit more credit that I don't think he's given himself as much credit for. Because I have seen a couple of these other videos of soccer players kicking field goals and they're just bombing these things because they're
Yeah.
so easy. There are only 32 kickers. Well, actually, to be fair, there are more than 32 kickers. At most, really, there's 64 kickers in the NFL. Like
No, I mean, there's only 32 field. I mean, if
there's
you're counting punter too, right?
yeah, right. If we're gonna go punter, there's two per team.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe there's
No,
three. No,
nope.
I'd say on a single team, maybe
Two.
there's three. Right? They'll have a kickoff
Never.
specialist. No, they're not going to, but like they could.
They could.
They could. There's only 60 of them. But on a soccer team, the supply of professional kickers is much like smaller
Very true. Very true.
in the NFL. There are a lot of goalkeepers in the United States. I believe the U.S. men's national team well, I think they definitely have three that go to the tournament. I think each team takes three goalies,
Yeah.
and then they have backups that are available that they can call.
Yeah. That's
Versus
interesting.
there are not three kickers on an NFL team at all.
No,
And
you're right.
if you think about it, right, there's three goalies. I'm trying to think of how big a soccer roster is for an actual game.
I think it's in the low 20s, but I could be wrong on
Yeah,
that.
I think they're allowed to have two on the field, or not on the field. They have one on the field, and then I think they have a backup. But I think
Yeah.
that a team normally carries two games. They carry two. There's usually a third that is in reserve in case one of them gets injured.
Right.
There's definitely not three kickers on an NFL team. So the number of spots, the demand is
Yeah.
very high, very low number of spots available. So that's my one. I'll turn it. So actually, yeah, there are three kickers in case you're curious. Matt Turner, Matt Freese, and Chris Brady are the current squad of kickers.
Okay.
But
No.
sorry, I shouldn't call them kickers. The goalkeepers. They're all
Goalkeepers. Yeah.
kickers, right? They're all football players. The
Yeah.
percentage of goalkeepers on a soccer team is a large percentage relative to the number of field goal kickers on a American football team. So
Yeah. No, no,
that's my
interesting.
labor
So
market demand and supply
I like
analysis
it. I like
of
it.
why NFL kickers are paid more than soccer players.
No, I like it. I like it. So we've gone about an hour almost. Any final economic thoughts before we get to pop culture?
No, but I do have a pop culture video.
Okay.
I've got
I don't know
two
that
actually.
I didn't look in advance. You have two?
I have two. I can give you
Okay,
two.
well, I'm gonna just hand mine off because mine would have been not soccer slash football for our European and well, rest of the world listeners. And mine would have been something else. So I'll save mine for next time.
I will say they are both very closely related, so it's not that big of a
Very
difference.
cool.
They're both game theory based. I mean, how do we talk about soccer without talking about game theory? So one
Yeah.
of them is from I don't exactly remember where. So the movie is called The Longest Penalty Shot in the World.
Okay.
I believe it is a Colombian movie. Probably should have prepped that a little bit better. So the Spanish title is Penalti Más Largo del Mundo, the longest penalty shot in the world, a Spanish comedy from 2005.
Okay.
It is fascinating. Maybe we should just do this one. Like this one by itself is so good. So the sort of the backstory to this, it's in Spanish if you want to watch it. It's online. I dubbed it in English, or not dubbed it. I did subtitles in English.
Subtitles.
So the way that the story goes is that there is a sort of small local team that is playing in town. They've got a backup goalkeeper is just never gets to play. He like works in town. Like there's a sort of a side story inside of there. But basically they're playing a game, and then the game goes all the way down to the very end, extra time, like it's literally the very end of the game, and the goalkeeper gets injured, but there is a penalty kick that is coming.
Okay.
And so like this is gonna like decide the champion and stuff. But they realize that so there's gonna be this like very final 93rd minute penalty kick before the goalie gets injured. And they decided to postpone the game because they said like it's not fair to this new keeper to come in who has not warmed
Huh.
up or played or anything. And so they will play the penalty kick tomorrow. And so that's why it's called the longest penalty kick in the longest penalty shot in the world. He goes back and forth of there's a great story of interdependence. So they're
Yeah.
practicing of like where is the guy going to kick? And so the players are like, he's going to kick left. And he goes, okay, so I should dive to the left. And they go, no, but he knows you're going to dive to the left. So you should kick it to the right. Like,
Yeah.
so they're doing, and there's this great scene where they're going back and forth where he's like, but if I know that he knows that I know that he knows that, then I
I
should do
like it.
this. Amazing interdependent story of this piece. So I can put it in there. It will be in Spanish. I will warn it has some curse words in it, but it's a very good movie.
It's a great
It's
clip.
funny.
That's a
It
great
was
clip.
it
I
had an
have not
average
seen
rating,
that.
but it was very interesting of this idea of like you get to watch. You get the penalty kick happens tomorrow, and so he's
Mixed
got to think about it all
strategies.
day.
Yeah. No, that I look. I have not seen that. I look forward to seeing that. So
The
that'll
other
be
one was going to be Ted Lasso. It's the same. It's interdependence. There's a scene in Ted Lasso where the coaches are trying to scheme a plan, and their former coach Nate is on the other
Oh,
team.
yep, yep, yep.
And so there's a scene where they're like, "What are we going to do? We should do this." But Nate knows we're going to do this, so we should instead do this. But he knows that we know that he knows this, so he does the same
Yeah,
interdependence
yeah, yeah,
story as well. Common knowledge. Sorry, I shouldn't. It is interdependence, but common
yeah,
knowledge
yeah. And why you
is
have to mix strategies a little
the
bit in
technical one.
order. Yeah, very
So I
cool.
could drop
Very
one.
cool.
That'll be my English. I have an English version with Ted Lasso. I'm gonna do the Spanish
Yeah,
version.
yeah. I've
Longest
seen the
penalty kick.
Ted Lasso episode, but I have not seen the other one. I look forward to seeing that.
I
That's
got it
good.
for you.
Well, thank you to everybody for tuning in. If we missed any economics in the World Cup, leave us a comment or shoot us a note. But thank you to all. And how was your what? I guess the Virgin Mimosa.
Virgin mimosa, virgin screwdriver.
Yeah, yeah.
I
There
could
we
have gone
go.
in a lot of different directions. Really good. I found a brand of orange juice that is delicious, and I did not realize that I needed to be. Somebody put me onto this orange juice,
Yeah.
and it is so good. I think it's called Mateo's.
Okay.
It's not one of. I mean, it's a brand, but it's not like Tropicana Minute Maid.
Yeah.
It's very good.
That's fantastic. Diet Mountain Dew consistently delicious and I'm
Diet
sure good for
American Dew,
me.
sir.
Diet American Dew, American Dew. 250. 250. So, well, take care everybody. I think we will be resuming with the look through the decades on the next episode, but until next time,
Cheers,
cheers.
Matt.